So, welcome back to another episode of Spiritual Teachers Podcast. With me today is a dear friend. He goes by Mitra Jacob. He is a devotee of Maitreya Dadashreeji. He's been walking the path with him for the last 8 years. Jacob is a wellness professional, a breathwork instructor, an energy worker. He teaches all different types of yoga, including vinyasa, hatha, chair yoga, and yin yoga. He's also a meditation guide. Welcome in, Jacob. It's such an honor to have you here.
Thank you, my friend. It is a absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for thinking of me.
Absolutely, man. So today I'd love to dive into your awakening, how everything started for you, how you went to India, how you connected with Dada Sriji, how you learned about these ways, and then maybe we can even dive into a little bit of Reiki and energy healing.
Yeah, sure. So we'll start with the spiritual awakening. So that, like many things in life, was many different steps. I couldn't just narrow it down to one thing. You know,
Hmm.
uh, it really all started happening with a combination of a couple of things. One is I started meditating. I really started getting into meditation when I was in college, and I noticed this immediate benefit, this clearness of mind, a calming of thoughts, a balancing of my emotions. And I was just kind of like, wow, well, hey, there's a lot of people have talked about all this stuff, and wow, it's really happening.
Hmm.
And I couldn't believe how quickly the benefits would come. Like when you go to the gym, it takes like a week or two to really start to notice the results.
Hmm.
But with meditation, it's instant. You sit down, you start watching your breath or focusing on something or chanting, and you are immediately calm. You are immediately in a different space. And so I started meditating. And then from there, I started getting more interested in all the different things that are associated with meditation. Let's say
Well, well,
yoga.
well, let me stop you there for a second. With
Mhm.
meditation, can you explain, because there's so many different types of ways to meditate. Can you explain
Sure.
kind of what type of meditation or how you were meditating the one in the
Yeah.
beginning? Uh-huh.
Yeah, absolutely. So have you ever heard of the app Headspace?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, so I had I had heard a ad on a podcast. Now I can't remember what podcast that was, but I'd heard an ad for it and I thought, huh, meditation made easy. And so they were offering a free trial. And so I downloaded it. And it gave you 10 sessions where it would start teaching you. First, it started with a breath watch. And then it started with a very in-depth body scan. And
Hmm.
then it would do a visualization. And
Okay.
so I just started that. I just did session one all the way through 10.
Hmm.
And I first started doing it before I would wake up in the morning. As soon as I would wake up, laying in bed, I'd put my headphones on and I'd do a meditation and then I would start my day. And it was about 2 weeks after that
Hmm.
that I started to notice this compounding effect. And so, of
Mm.
course, I would do the meditation and I would feel great afterwards.
Hmm.
But then I started to notice that it was as if I had this mental cocoon of fortitude. And then I felt different.
Hmm.
I would move through my day and it's be like, hey, where something would normally trigger me, it would just be nothing.
Mm.
Like a tree in a storm. I was rooted down with this calm presence.
Hmm.
And so I was just started practicing that meditation over and over and over. I eventually, because I had so much success with the trial version, I paid for it and then did a bunch of different they offer so many tracks on there. And
Mm.
so that was
Okay.
how I first got started with meditation.
Okay, awesome.
Mhm.
I love these kind of applications and ways that are becoming more mainstream, because it's so important that everybody have access to these kind of things. So that's amazing that that was the way that you found it. I actually personally found meditation in a similar way. There was a little library meditation corner at Penn State where I went, and I would listen to this track called Meditation Mind One,
Mm,
and it was by this doctor who like combined all these binaural beats and the sound of birds chirping and things like that, and it immediately dropped me into like this deep, deep meditative state that I've only reached a few times since then. And so, yeah, some of these tracks are potent, man.
hmm Yeah. So that was part one of my awakening. Part two, well, you know, I was really into UFO. I still am, but I was really into UFOs.
Okay.
Now, hang with
Same.
me for a moment here. Is that so? I was really into that, and so I would absorb a lot of information about that.
Mhm.
And there's a reoccurring theme in that space where there's all this positive contact with ETs, and they start to talk about the energy body, and they start to talk about meditation and all these different things. Of course, I'm kind of, doing a little bit of a general analysis here, and I am, putting a lot of things under, this umbrella, right?
Mhm.
But from there, I found this book of channeled material called The Law of One. Have you ever heard of
Mm.
it?
Oh yeah, that
I know
one's
we've discussed it in the past, but
yeah.
and so I I started reading it, and I was like, wow. I remember laying in my bed and just reading. And so for those who haven't read it, it is a question answer question answer question answer question answer format. There was a group of three researchers who started doing research on UFOs, then started going into, they had found a group, I think in Detroit, where they had said, hey, we're having contact with this extra dimensional ET type of consciousness. And they were like, wow, really? Let me study that. And so they started to do this work with them and then decided, hey, there's actually something here. And then they took it a step further and developed their own protocol. And then that's when they made contact with the group called Ra, which is they are the ones who do this question, answer, question, answer. And it starts off exactly how you think it would. Who are you? What are you doing? Why did you contact us? Etc., etc. And as the connection gets deeper, they start to go into deeper topics. Like the whole first book is a lot about self-healing, which I think is probably the most profound out of all of the three books.
Hmm.
Or sorry, out of all the four, excuse me. They even have a fifth one too, but it's technically four. The first one's also known as the raw material, but then since they had so much information, they then renamed it to the Law of One. So
Mm,
you can
okay.
actually download these books for free off the llresearch.org website, which is how I first came to be about it.
Okay.
Side note, there's also an amazing podcast. So once you start reading, you will understand that the questions, but then the answers themselves are blocky. That's just one way to describe it. The
Mm.
the answers are very high-minded, let's say. And so there's a gentleman by the name of Scott Mandelker, and he breaks down every question and answer from all four books. Scott Mandelker, PhD, on gosh, I was listening to it on Podcast Addict. I'm sure it's on Spotify, but he breaks down every question and every answer, and I cannot recommend enough listening to that podcast in conjunction with reading because he takes all of the answers to an incredibly deep level of understanding. And so I would highly, highly recommend that.
Okay,
So,
amazing.
yeah, so I'm meditating, I'm reading these books. And again, so I'm just, again, going back to laying in bed, I would read something and they would talk about the energy body or something very personal, interpersonal relationships, things about the physical body. And I would just feel something in my body. I would literally lay in bed and vibrate. I would
Wow.
feel vibrations all over my body. I'd feel it in my third eye, feel it in my arms, my legs, everywhere. And I just knew there was something within me that said, this is true knowledge. This is knowledge that is helping the soul. And so through that understanding, I started to use that as a lens, as a filter for other spiritual knowledge. They talk a lot about in well, they talk about a lot of things, but they say two things that were really interesting. One is beware the false guru. And so we know
That's a big one.
anybody in the spiritual space will know that there's a lot of snake oil out there. And then not even that, but there's a lot of misconception as well. There's a lack of understanding. There's a lot of ignorance. And then two, when you are ready for a master, one will appear. And I remember reading that and thinking, wow, well, I feel like I just felt this calling. And I said to myself in my internal voice, I am ready for a master. And less than probably 6 months after that, I was invited to my first Maitri Bodh Parivar meditation, which is the organization that I'm now a part of, which was founded by Maitreya Dadashreeji. And so one of my best friends, we were on the spiritual path together. I got him into the Law of One, and we would just read and talk for hours back and forth because the knowledge is so deep. There's a lot of knowledge in there. So he was my spiritual soundboard, and we would just bounce ideas back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And so, I'd been telling him about meditation. I said, buddy, you really have to start meditating. It's like changing my life. And so one day he's at work and some guy randomly comes up to him. They've never spoken at work. He said, hey, would you like to come to a meditation with me? And so he was thinking about everything that I had been saying to him. And so he said, yeah, sure. And so it happened to be a Maitri Bodh Parivar meditation. So he went, he did the meditation, and he had a really great time. And then he calls me up. He says, hey, I think that these guys are legit. Everything that we had learned, they seem to be checking every box, but I'm still not sure. Let me keep going and let me figure it out. So he goes to a couple more meditations. Everything's really positive. And so he tells me, hey, when you come back into town, I was a student at Iowa State at the time, and I would go back into town and visit my parents. And that was the same town where he was living. I said, hey, why don't you come to this meditation? They're doing a world relay mantra chanting session. And so what they were doing is for an entire month, they were keeping this very specific mantra going, actually the Dadashreeji mantra. And they were building energy for something for Dada to use. And so all these different groups of devotees around the world would sign up for these hour-long chanting slots. And so there was an hour slot that the local group had signed up for. So I went.
Nice.
And I had a really interesting experience, something that had never happened to me before, that kind of changed, just that really let me know that it was something that was real. And so we're sitting down, we're all in a circle. They explain we're going to be chanting Dadashreeji mantra for an hour. Here's a piece of paper that has the mantra on it. Just do your best to follow along, but just flow with it. Don't get in your headspace about it. Just stay in your heart, just be relaxed and just enjoy it. And so, okay, cool. I'd been meditating. I'd chanted Om before. How hard could it be?
Right.
And so we sit down, we start going. The first 20 minutes, I'm just eyes glued to the paper. How can I say this without having to look at it? But of course, with that repetition, I started getting it down. I was able to close my eyes, adopt a mudra, and start to flow with it a little more. And so as we're going through it, something appears across my mind's eye. And I don't mean that I imagined this myself. I had practiced some visualization, and this was nothing like that. But what I saw was a rainbow. But each line of the rainbow was black. But underneath every bottom line of each line of the rainbow, there was a little sparkling color. So like, whoa. Wow. And so you may have heard this before when you're in meditation and you begin to experience something visual or mystical, is it don't give in to astonishment. Just right. Let it flow, right? But I immediately opened my eyes. What was that? And so I'm just kind of like, oh, wow, well, okay. And I remember, all right, don't give in to astonishment. Don't give in to astonishment. Okay, so I get back in it. About 5 minutes later, I'm in the flow of it again. And I start to see the outline of shoulders and head. Think
Oh,
of it
wow.
as like a ghostly, smoky, ethereal, gray outline of color.
Hmm.
And so I'm like, what's that? But I'm saying to myself again, don't give in to astonishment. And so I continue chanting, and then I start to see the outline of the head, the jaw. I start to see the outline of the ears, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, forehead. With each second, it's becoming more clear and more clear and more clear. And once again, I open my eyes. I've given into astonishment to the best of my efforts. But the thing is that it faded away really slowly from my mind's eye.
Mm.
Even with my eyes open, I could still see it very clearly, and it just slowly faded away.
Wow.
And so again, I'm like, what was that? I've
Hmm.
never had anything like that happen up until that point. And so I close my eyes, start chanting again. The hour comes up, we all get done. And there's just this feeling of peace and happiness and love, and everybody's smiling, everyone's feeling good. And one of the people who was running the session, she says, "Hey, did anybody have any experiences? Would they like to share?" And at first I wasn't going to, but I was all like, okay, sure. I was like, well, yeah, I did. And so she said, "Yeah, what happened?" And so I explained about the black rainbow with those little tiny bits of color underneath the bottom line. And then I start to talk about this face that starts to appear. And she just starts to smile as I'm explaining what's going on or what had happened.
Hmm.
And she turns around and she looks, she goes, "Was it that guy?" And I'm like, "Yeah, wow. Oh, wow." Like I was like taken aback. It's like, wow, it was. Wow. And so, and I hadn't recognized it when it had happened.
Hmm.
And so I'm just kind of like, wow. And they're all like, "Okay, that's great." And a couple of other people shared just some colors that they had seen, some feelings, etc. So as we're getting ready to leave, my buddy's like, "Hey, I just want you to know that before we started, I prayed that you would have an experience that would show you that Dada is the real deal."
Mm.
And I was just like, wow, wow, wow. I said, "Well, hey, thank you.
Yeah.
Let's say I have a little bit of a passing interest now."
Yeah. All right. My interest is sparked.
Yeah, yeah, just a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
And then so from there, I just started to devour as much knowledge and information as I could on Dadashreeji. Who is this master? Who is this guide? Why did this happen? Et cetera, et cetera. And so, from there, I just, hook, line, and sinker. There was this interview done where Dada was in Rome, and someone was describing this beautiful interview. It's actually on YouTube as well. And as they were writing about it, they said that Dada plays for keeps. When he touches your life, he has such a profound effect that it is very likely that you are his. And I mean that in the best of way. I don't mean that it is some sort of that someone is taking you from yourself or anything like that. It is just this feeling of love, this feeling of unconditional love and acceptance and compassion and freedom that is so attractive that you don't really find much of these days. Even amongst your closest friends, even amongst family members. I had never experienced unconditional love before I met Dada.
Mhm.
And it changed my life. It changed my life. And so from there, again, I started doing the meditations with them. I eventually finished school. I moved back out to California. I'd studied greenhouse hydroponics with a minor in entrepreneurship. So I'm thinking I'm going to be in the greenhouse industry and work with hydroponics. And then, I was thinking one day, what do I really want to do with my life? I think a lot of
That's a
us,
big question.
yeah, I think a lot of us have had that question before.
Hmm.
And the answer is not always forthcoming.
Right.
And so I just remember thinking, I'd gotten a job and I was working, but I thought, is this really what I want to do? Is this really the purpose of my life? And the feeling I got was no. And so I had started my Reiki training at that time.
Okay.
I had started my level 1 and 2. And so I loved that. I've always been a feeler. Now that's why I feel like we've always been able to connect on that because I know that you're a feeler too.
For sure.
And so that's, I'm not someone who sees a lot. I don't have these out of body mystical experiences,
Hmm.
but I feel a lot. And so energy work has always been very natural to me and always felt really good.
For
And
those
so,
that for those that don't know what Reiki is, can you talk a little bit about that?
yeah, sure. So Reiki is a energy healing modality that came out of Japan. And it is, you can do it a couple of different ways. First, you can either do it with hands-on. There's a Reiki touch is a really nice thing to do. You can just look at people and give Reiki. You can use words. You can use different symbols. And it has a lot of different effects. It can anywhere from purification to protection to emotional balance to past life to abundance, angels, etc. The list really goes on and on.
Yeah.
And so I did my level 1, I did my level 2. I loved it, like a man in the desert needing more water. I just couldn't get enough. And then I started going through my Reiki mastership program.
Hmm.
And as I was going through that, I had some friends tell me, well, hey, why don't you, it seems really natural for you to be a yoga instructor. Why don't you go do that? And at first I was a little hesitant. I had taken a couple of yoga classes and I'll be honest, I didn't really care for it the first couple of times I did it,
Hmm.
but it was because I was in my mind about it. I've always been a pretty athletic guy. I was a really high level soccer player for all of my life. Sports, anything with a ball came really naturally to me. And so I felt like anything physical, I'm there. I'm usually top tier at it,
Hmm.
but I was bad at yoga. Bad. My flexibility, even to this day, I still have really tight hamstrings, really tight hips, even after teaching for 6 years now,
Hmm.
and so I wasn't good at it. The names of the poses were foreign, and I
Hmm.
just felt uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So it took me to my third yoga session. I'm laying down in Shavasana, and I just felt incredible. It was one of the first times, it was my first session out of the 3 that I did, that I was actually able to let go
Hmm.
and
Surrender.
get out of my head. Exactly. Get out of my head about it. And
Hmm.
so I'm laying there and, I just said that I'm not one that sees a lot, but I had like a vision. And so
Hmm.
I'm laying there. I'm thinking about nothing. I'm actually just focusing on how good I feel.
Hmm.
And then in my mind's eye pops up like this kind of like cut out outline of my body.
Hmm.
And I see the different energy lines, the nadis that go through the body, the energy highway, everything, all that cosmic energy, that internal energy flows.
Hmm.
And
Like
I see
meridian
all,
lines.
exactly, all of it. And I see it all lit up. And I see all this energy and it's coming right up to my third eye energy center.
Mm.
And I'm just laying there. I'm just kind of like, whoa, what is this? What is this? And then it was like in that moment that I just kind of got it. I was all like, oh, my body feels incredible.
Hmm.
My mind is quiet. My emotions are balanced. In fact, I felt more than just content. I felt happy, even blissful. And of course, again, I'm seeing something. And so I'm like, whoa, all right, well, maybe there's a little more to this than I thought.
Right.
And so soon after that, then I started my first yoga training experience. I did a 200 yoga teacher training in San Diego with a wonderful instructor. Her name is Shauna Schenk. She has Yoga with Shauna. She is the originator of the San Diego Yoga Festival, which has been going on for, of course, it had a break for COVID. They did another year of it just this last year. She's a wonderful teacher. If anybody's looking for an instructor, I know she does a lot of yoga teacher trainings, and I can't recommend her enough. And so by that time, I finished my Reiki mastership. I finished my yoga teacher training. I do a meditation certification with her. I do a sound healing certification with her. I do a breathwork certification with her. And from then, I've completely changed the course of my life to wellness. Mm-hmm. I had gone with her and done Reiki clinics. I was helping her run her Reiki clinic out of her yoga studio. I was going to different festivals and doing Reiki there. And I knew that this was, I didn't know it as consciously as I know now, but more unconsciously, I knew that this was the path that I needed to be on. Mm-hmm. It just felt right. Something that Dadashreeji has taught is that if you want to find the purpose of your life, you just need to follow your heart. Your heart is guiding you.
Absolutely.
Your heart is guiding you. Your internal guide rests in your heart center. So when you follow your heart, you will be effortlessly guided to the purpose of your life. And I didn't understand that as well as I understand it now. And there is certainly much more that I need to learn about that. I certainly do not claim to have all knowledge on anything at all. In fact, I think that, as a spiritual seeker and as someone who has collected some knowledge, you learn how quickly how much you don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
yeah.
And so, fast forward again, I go do my first Bodh 1, which is these experiential retreats that Maitreya Bodh Parivar offers. And Maitreya Bodh Parivar is a family of friends. That's what it translates to out of Sanskrit, a family of friends. Mm-hmm. And that's what it is. Mm-hmm. And so I do Bodh 1, 2, 3, and I even did Bodh 4 a couple years ago, my first time at the ashram, which was, we're going to talk about the ashram, but I'm going to tell you right now that words do not describe that place. It is something that needs to be experienced. And I highly encourage any serious spiritual seeker to go to that place because it is unlike any other place in the world.
And this is in India, right?
Yes, in India. The ShantiKshetra, some of these Sanskrit words and some of these Hindu words I struggle with, so please forgive me for butchering some of these. So the ShantiKshetra Premgiri Ashram.
Okay.
It translates to the abode of love and peace.
Beautiful.
And yeah, go ahead.
And which part of India is it located in?
Yeah, it is in Karjat in the Jamberg Valley. It's about 2.5, 3 hours outside of Mumbai, depending on what time of the day you hit traffic, because the traffic in India is insane.
I've heard that.
Wild. It's wild. And they drive a lot differently than we do here, let's say that. Mm-hmm. And so it's actually quite an experience. But so you drive out there, and as soon as you walk through the gates, Dada says, when you enter these gates, leave all your worries behind. Mm-hmm. And it is like stepping into another world. You dissolve selfishness because it's a place of friendship. You remove falsehood and ignorance because it is a place of truth. You eliminate hatred and fear because it is a place of love. And you free yourself from unrest and worry because it is a place of peace. And by golly, my friend, it truly is. Every stone, every leaf, every rock, every iota of dust there is imbued with divine energy, with the intent to uplift the human mind and turn it into a divine mind. And that is a place that is unlike any other in the world. And so the ashram can be defined in one way as a place where the mind is silent. Because when you step in, it just shuts off. Now, does that mean that you can't have a mind that is moving and things happen? Absolutely. But the mind shuts off so the body can work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So Bode 4 was your first time coming to the ashram, right?
Yes. And
And how many years ago was that?
that was in 2022.
Okay.
That was November, December. I was there for 15 days, 16 days actually.
Okay.
I
Okay.
was there for another process, Maitreya Chitta Kriya Shuddhi, or Maitreya Chitta Suddhi Kriya, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then we rolled right into Bode 4. And so we got there as a day of rest. We did the first program, a couple days of rest, and then right into Bode 4, a couple days of rest, and then we left.
Can you talk a little bit about that first program? What did that entail?
Yeah, so in short, it was a lot about the chitta. The
Mm-hmm.
chitta is a Sanskrit word for the storehouse of your mind. You can think of it, if you were to think of the mind like a computer, it would be the hard drive.
Okay.
And so in the chitta, you store everything. And so if you really want to progress, and now I'm going to be really general here, is that if you want to really progress, you need to clean those deep-rooted blockages.
Mm-hmm.
The deep-rooted stuff, not the surface level, but the stuff that is really, really deep, that sometimes you need literal divine intervention to remove.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that trauma goes so deep that you need expert help, as it
Mm-hmm.
were.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have spiritual surgery to open that up.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a big thing about cleaning the chitta to help clean the mind. And it's a process that can be done every year. In fact, they recommend, of course, getting to India once a year is not the easiest thing, particularly from us all the way over here in the Americas. But it is something that in the future we hope to be offering here stateside. And, there's plenty of programs that go on in San Diego, and we do some in Chicago, they do some on the East Coast. And so there are areas to take these programs. And so whatever part of the country you are at, you will be able to, with a little bit of effort, of course, be able to enjoy some of these sessions.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So that first program was intended to clear out those deep-rooted blockages and traumas. And then once that was completed, you transitioned into Bode 4.
Yeah, which is called Heal the Soul.
Okay.
And I don't want to go too much into depth about what was done because I don't want to ruin that experience for anybody who goes. And they in fact politely ask, "Hey, don't talk about everything that goes on." It's not that like anything bad, it's just they want it to be a fresh experience for those that go. So we can speak generally about it if you don't mind, instead of going
Absolutely.
into
Yeah, that's
super
totally
depth.
understandable. Yeah.
Yeah, so the the meat and potatoes, as it were, of every Bode series
Hmm.
is called Shakti Prava.
Hmm.
And this is a literal divine energy transfer. And I mean that very literally. It is the energy of divine intervention. And so each level of Bode has a different level of Shakti Prava.
Hmm.
And so you experience the Bode 4 level Shakti Prava, which
Okay.
of course is, again, spiritual surgery, cleaning you out, connecting you, et cetera, all these good things. It's 4 days of sessions with some processes. And it's called Heal the Soul.
Hmm.
And so what it does is it heals the soul. It allows you to become closer to the core of who you really are, your true nature, which is love. And so it helps you to connect that and to become love.
Amazing.
Hmm.
Amazing. So you've arrived at the ashram. Uh, is this a good time to transition to talk a little bit about Dadashreeji?
Sure, sure, sure. There's a couple other things that I would love to highlight
Oh,
about the
okay.
ashram, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so I made a very strong statement that there is no other place like the ashram in the world. And I want to give a little more clarity on why that is. And so there is this wonderful little temple. There's several temples on the ground, but one is called the Shakti Pitham. And we have a divine trinity that rests within there, a embodiment of divine feminine, divine masculine, and then also the guru consciousness.
Mm, okay.
And so we have the Prem Swarpini. Oh, I butchered that a little bit. Adi Shakti Ma Kali Ma. And so we're talking about Mahakali here. And takes many forms. You know, most notably, people see her as the destroyer, the angry face with the many arms, with, all of her weapons. But at the ashram, she is in her highest original form.
Mm.
And that is the embodiment of love.
And
And
for
so,
those that don't know, Mata Kali is a deity in India, right?
yes, yes, you could say that she represents the highest echelon of deity, the highest. There's no one higher than her.
For the
And
feminine,
so, what's that?
for the feminine perspective, right?
Yes, but even so, even higher. Just think of her as the highest. Take away masculine, take away feminine. Just think of her as the absolute apex
Mm,
of where you can go with that.
okay.
And so we refer to her as Maha Kali because Maha means the top level. And so at her top level in her original form, let's say, she is just pure love. So
Mhm.
when you stand in front of the Shakti Pitham and you stare into the eyes of Ma, you just feel love. You feel like you're home. You feel like you're being embraced by your own mother. It is a beautiful, beautiful experience. And that energy plays a huge role in the overall energetics of the ashram and then of the Maitri mission itself. And so, second, so now we go to the divine masculine and the form. So we have Shiva in the form of Lord Mahakaleshwar. And
Mhm.
so Mahakaleshwar is beyond time and space. And he's present in the form of a Shivling. Are you familiar with Shivling?
Yes, yes. Can you explain that a little bit for the listeners?
Yeah, so think of it as imagine sort of a bell. And so it has a cylinder with a circular top, and it has something that drips water down on it. So it's constantly wet. And so the form of Mahakaleshwar is residing in the Shivling itself. And there's a little bit of water that gets dripped down to cool it down. Because from what I understand, if you were to touch it, it's like touching like a live wire. It's a very warm, hot thing, and it needs to be cooled down constantly because it has all this energy inside of it.
And it's, from my understanding, it's also made from a very specific crystal that's only found in India, right?
To be honest, my friend, I am not sure about that.
Okay. Okay. No problem.
Hmm.
No
Yeah.
problem. I met a man in Hawaii on the island of Kauai who was very proficient with, like, that was one of his businesses, was he would
Mm.
go and collect these and then sell them to people all over the world. And it's got a very phallic, very masculine look to it,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely. Yeah. And so now moving to the third part of this divine trinity is the guru consciousness, the guru Sathan. Again, forgive me, my friends, for butchering that Sanskrit word, but it's known as the seat of the guru consciousness.
Hmm.
And so many who have come to the ashram or to Maitri Bodh or to Dada have been blessed by or have a guru in their life that has guided them and sent them to the ashram to experience this, to meet Dadashreeji. And so you have Ma, who fulfills your prayers and just fills you with love. You have Mahakaleshwar, who is helping humanity transform itself. And again, when I talk about transformation, I mean beyond enlightenment. I mean going all the way to that finished state, beyond enlightenment.
Like divine consciousness, maybe you could call it, right?
Exactly, exactly. A full merging of the human mind to the divine mind.
Mm-hmm.
And then the guru consciousness is guiding you to fulfill the purpose of your life. And so all of this energy is working side by side to help fill this divine sand scalp, which is the transformation of the world, the transformation of humanity, because we're going through a giant shift right now.
Mass awakening.
Mass awakening. This is all part of it, and it's all part of divine plan. And so that's why the ashram is unlike any other place in the world, because there's nowhere else in the world that houses all of that energy in one place. It's magical. It is magical, my friend. Again, all these words do not do it justice. It is something to experience. Truly.
I can feel it through your words.
Dude, I hope, man, one day. And it's just, I had heard people discuss it beforehand, and they're like, oh, Jacob, you have to go to the ashram sometime. You have to go, you have to go. It is a lot to get to the ashram, a ticket to India, and then, getting all the way there. It's not cheap. And, I've just returned from the ashram last Thursday. I've been home a little over a week from my second trip, and I did about 33 hours of travel.
Just
each way.
in one direction. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
So that takes a toll. You're also on a complete, almost opposite schedule. Like for me, they are 11 and a half hours ahead of Central Time.
Okay.
So almost a complete reversal.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a little bit of adjustment that goes with that.
Just a little jet lag there.
Just a little. But thankfully, the ashram energies help you to adjust pretty quickly. Now, certainly, there is an effect, but it is diminished quite a bit by the energies of the ashram, which I'm very, very grateful for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Dadashreeji.
Yeah, let's dive into
myth,
it.
the legend.
Yeah.
So, if it's all right with you, there's a video that I would love to play that I hope will kind of set the tone for Dadashreeji. There was a devotee, I think this was about 7 years ago now, who had hired a alchemic reader, a rather well-known one, and showed her a picture of Dadashreeji and asked her to do a reading on Dada. And what she said was pretty interesting. So I'd love to share that with you and our viewers, if that's okay.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, just one moment here, my friend. And so those who are watching this, you may notice that we've skipped a little bit ahead. There's a little bit of reverberation from the recording of the devotee who was talking, so we tried to skip some of that, but just know that the beginning portion is simply her asking about, what can you tell me about Dadashreeji, his purpose? And she also asked a little personal information about how I'm connected to him, et cetera, et cetera. By I mean her, of course. So with all further ado, let's go ahead and get this started.
Sounds great.
I mean, from that origin standpoint, there's no origin that's angelic in nature. He has had past lifetimes as a human, but they've been as other masters many, many, many times. And it was like straight from Elohim to human masters. Nothing else. No other incarnations. Nothing else. He's very pure. He didn't go through a lot of trauma or things like that. He's here to teach something immensely different. He's very good at disidentification. that's excellent. He's very good at balance. He's very good at neutrality without apathy, but he also stands to hold a form of compassion very well. So yeah, he's clear. He's got a halo. He's got a golden halo, which tells me he's operating through Christed consciousness. I've got to blow up that picture a little bit more. Hold on. It's primarily gold. Yeah, it's gold. I'm not seeing anything else. I keep looking for something else to pop out, but it's just gold. He's just very evolved.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so I definitely wanted to start this out with a unbiased opinion. I love Dada. He is a friend and a guide. And so I thought it would be nice to start that out with hearing it from a different perspective, somebody who is not a devotee, who hasn't spent time with Dada. And so, you heard it. He is a incredibly evolved being. And this is not his first life as a master. In fact, many, 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 many masters. And Dadashreeji started off in this life before he became who he is now as a medical doctor.
Okay.
Yeah. And so as he was in his practice, he was realizing that while there was cures and remedies for physical pain, this emotional and mental pain, and let's call it also spiritual pain, had no medication. There was nothing that he could do. And so that led him to a path of self-discovery. And so he starts meditating, he starts his journey, and he has a book that was written that is a accumulation of all these different teachings that he's given over the years. It's called The Cause of Suffering is a Lack of Love, which I would highly, highly recommend. And in the prologue, he talks about his experience with Maha-Avatar Babaji. And he says that in 2006 that Babaji just appeared to him in his living room floating in the air, and that he immediately initiated him as his disciple.
So for those that don't know Babaji, can you speak a little bit about Babaji?
Sure. My knowledge about Babaji is limited, but I can speak a little bit. So Babaji is known as the Undying Saint. Babaji is known as the Master's Master. Mm-hmm. And from my understanding, Babaji is alive and well in the Himalayas with 2 or 3 devotees, and he's been working on the transformation of humanity for a long, long, long time. And it's my understanding that he's been at this for about 5,000 years. I know that is quite the statement to put out there. This is just what has been shared. Take it or leave it, my friends.
Yes, and I'd like to add that he also came to many other gurus and masters. Some people might know about Yogananda, who wrote the autobiography of a yogi. Babaji came to him, and Babaji came to a lot of the teachers before Yogananda. And many of these masters and gurus in India that have been and still are have had these interactions with Babaji. He is known to be one of the highest enlightened beings or transformed beings, as Dadashreeji refers to himself as, right? And he is very, very high level and a very powerful teacher that appears only to the select few that are ready to receive his teachings.
Yes. It is also mentioned in Dada's book, and these are his words, that Babaji right now has 54 disciples right now working. And 54 is quite a unique number, as it is exactly half of 108. And so, yes, Babaji is alive and well today, still working on the transformation of humanity and Dadashreeji is one of those disciples. Although Dadashreeji is different from the others because Dadashreeji is a divine incarnation. And this is what I mean by that. You may remember from our video that we just had that the alchemist reader said that he is here to teach something very different. Mm-hmm. And so there is a difference in between a divine master and a divine incarnation. A master will continue to teach the knowledge that is already there. But when an incarnation comes down, and this is rare, many, many, many masters will come down in the span where it takes one incarnation to come down. And that's when there needs to be this huge shift where something new needs to be taught. Mm-hmm. And this is the transformation path that I've been hinting at, that I've been mentioning here and there throughout our session. Mm-hmm. It is the complete transformation of the human mind. Mm-hmm. It is establishing one world, one family, one truth.
Would you also consider it like crystallizing the body, going from into a more crystalline state?
I'm hesitant to say yes on that because I have an idea of what I think you mean, but I do not know for sure. And so I would say I don't know.
Okay. Beautiful.
Yeah. But certainly I know that in the transformation process, it is not just the mind. It is the entire body. And it has been described as every single cell in your body is filled with love. Mm-hmm. And so whether that translates to being a crystalline body, as it were, I've heard this before, but I do not know if it is exactly a one-to-one relation.
Okay. And what about the 12-stranded DNA that a lot of people mention in the spiritual community, upgrading their DNA to the 12 strands?
That is also something that I don't know about.
Okay. Dadashreeji never mentions anything about that?
Nothing about the 12, at least, I certainly don't know everything that Dada has ever said. The only thing that I know about DNA is that the Shakti Prava mediums, those that are given the wonderful gift of being able to do the Shakti Prava blessing, their DNA is changed to be able to house that energy and be a conduit for it. Mm-hmm. Now, again, does that translate to this 12-strand DNA? I'm not sure. The thing that comes to my mind is, as we mentioned at the beginning, or rather I did, there is a lot of misconception in the spiritual community. A lot of misconception. And so, is this one of them? Who knows? Is there something to it? Maybe. But I, my friend, do not know the answer.
Okay. No problem. So where did we leave off?
Dadashreeji. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, he meets Babaji. He gets initiated. He spends 4 years going through his spiritual journey with Babaji. Mm-hmm. And then he has his merging with divine consciousness. Mm-hmm. Babaji tells him his purpose for being there, tells him that you are a divine incarnation. You are the love incarnate. You are a walking incarnation of divine love, is what Babaji told him. And your purpose is the Maitreya mission, to help establish the divine age, to transform the human mind into the divine mind. So from there, that's when Dada began his work. Maitreya Parivar was formed, family of friends. He initiated the first 7 core mitras. He has 9 disciples now, but it started with the 7 core mitras, and then he's added 2 more. And so there's 9 now. And he's not taking any more disciples. There's only those 9, and then the rest are devotees and sevaks, which typically those share the same box, as it were, but there are Sevaks who are not devotees, meaning they haven't taken the Mitra or Maitri oath. Mitra for men, Maitri for women. And so Dadashreeji is a socio-spiritual reformer,
Mm.
and he is working to transform the human mind.
Mm-hmm.
And there's three pillars of Maitri Bodh Parivar: love, peace, and selfless service. Or excuse me, love, transformation, and selfless service.
Mm-hmm.
And so Seva is a huge part of what Dada wants to teach.
And
Seva is a way, excuse me?
so seva is selfless service, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Doing something for somebody without expectation of something in return.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Usually no money involved, no
Yeah.
exchange, no gifts, just doing it from
Yeah.
the kindness of your heart.
Yeah. Doing it out of love.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter if this person is someone who's dear to you or a complete stranger. You help when you can. And that action, that path has really changed my life in a lot of ways. There is nothing like that feeling of helping somebody and knowing that you're doing it from the goodness of your heart, and then you get rewarded with the most heartfelt, loving thank you. You see it, you feel it, and you just say, wow, this is what life is about. Life is truly about helping other people without expectation, just helping.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone's the same. There's no delineation between me and you, him and her, they and them. We are all one at our core. So really helping somebody else is helping yourself, because we are all one in a way.
Yeah, for
As far
sure.
as I know, there's only one person in the entire creation.
Beautiful. Amazing. So Dada uh, receives this divine experience with Babaji, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then how soon after that does he start the ashram?
Ooh, the ashram. When did that start? You've hit me with a question that I don't know the exact answer of. I know that everything was getting started like Maitri Bodh around 2012, 2013.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do not know exactly when the ashram land was purchased and building started.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's relatively recent, in the last 20 years, right?
Oh, yeah. Yes, 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 yes. And the place just keeps changing. Even from 2 years ago, from just being there recently, it's changed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's constantly growing. They're putting in more dormitories, places for people to stay. Right now, they're building a yoga hall for processes. Nothing is built frivolously there. It's
Mm-hmm.
all for purpose. The purpose is to go there for spiritual work, period.
Mm-hmm.
There's no like golden fountains or anything of that nature. It is all right. There's a kitchen for food, a place for storage. There's the meditation hall. There's the mandapam where they do the havans every day. There's the Shakti Pitham. There's the dormitories. There's a little area where Dada stays when he's there. And they're building this yoga hall. And there's some other buildings that they're working on too. I'm not privy to the wider scope of everything that they're building there, but that's just what I saw when I was there.
Okay, so Dada does not live there.
No, but he's there often.
Okay. Okay. And from my understanding, some other ashrams like Amma's ashram has many elephants on the grounds, different animals. Is there any of that at the ashram?
There is a lot of nature around, and so you see the occasional lizard. There are a lot of stray dogs in India. So occasionally a dog will come onto the premises. There was a cat that was there that I kept trying to pet, but I couldn't. Even animals typically like me, and I have cats, so I speak cat a little bit. I know the tricks, but I could not get this cat to approach me. Every time I got close, just I'm like, I'm sorry, buddy, I'm sorry. And they ask us not to feed the animals, and so like just please if they let you pet them, that's great. If you want to give them love, but please don't feed the animals. And so, a variety of birds and everything around. But as far as animals that like live on the premises, no, it's just all wild nature around.
Okay. Okay. And is there like rock walls around the premises, or is it fence? Like I'm trying to get a little bit of an image of it.
It's a combination of both. Of course, they have more permanent walls that are stone. And then, of course, there is some fence around, particularly in the construction areas, where they haven't built permanent walls yet.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Okay.
What's really beautiful about the ashram is it's in the Jambrung Valley. And so you're looking around and it's just beautiful mountains pretty much surrounding it on all sides.
Oh, wow.
And Dada shared that in the rainy season, there is 108 little waterfalls that come off of the mountains, and you can actually count them all out. 108 exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. That's pretty wild.
That's profound.
My friend, is beautiful. I have some pictures that, I can some personal photos that I can share a little bit, and I can show you a little bit, kind of like what the ashram looks like.
Hmm.
There's a video that I'd shared with you beforehand that I don't know if we can maybe link in a description or something that has a
sure.
very nice visual of the ashram that gives a nice in-depth of some of a few of the different temples that are there, the other deities, because we talked about a few deities, but Ganesh is there too, and there's a couple others as well. And also Babaji. Babaji's consciousness is also very involved at the ashram as well.
Beautiful.
And they're actually in the process of building Babaji's cave, a place that you can go meditate that is specifically dedicated to Babaji. And so I know we've talked a lot about Dada, but Babaji is a beloved figure in Maitri Bodh and is, of course, revered for who and the service that he continues to give for humanity. So Babaji is well loved and well taken care of at the ashram and has a high seat in everyone's heart.
Okay. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. So is this a good time to transition to your first experience physically meeting Dadashreeji?
Yeah, so my first physical experience with Dada was in 2022. We took darshan with him, which just means we did a spiritual session where he talked about a lot of things, and he always gives his blessings and helps to upgrade people when they're there. And so that was wonderful. I meant to look up this term beforehand, but there is a Vedic term that's Brahman something, but it means one who is in the state of Brahman, meaning one who is connected to divine consciousness. So one who is linked to all knowledge. So Dadashreeji is an ocean of knowledge. You can ask him anything, any spiritual question, and he will be able to give you an answer. Mm-hmm. And something that always struck me as really profound is how simple he is. He's very simple. He speaks very simply. He's not one to mince words. He's funny. He has a great sense of humor. Every time we see him in person, he's always cracking these little innocent, I want to say jokes, but, not in the same way that say, you and the buddies are, they're very innocent. Dada is very innocent. He's very simple. And that's a huge takeaway that you will, if you ever get a chance to sit with him, or even, in fact, Maitri Bodh has put out a lot of videos on YouTube with Dada's teaching, and many of them are in English. Of course, there's many in Hindi Some of them have subtitles, but he's very simple. And I've always found that to be a hallmark of true mastery. When somebody can teach things that are so complex and so profound in such a simple way, to me is the hallmark of true mastery. Mm-hmm. And you get that right away when you're with him. Mm-hmm. In fact, if you have questions in your mind, you will spontaneously get the answers. Mm. He will answer questions in a way that will answer different questions that people have in their mind that are in the crowd. Mm. I experienced this personally over and over and over, and many other people did as well. This is an experience that is common in his presence. Mm-hmm. And so that was my first time meeting him. We got to spend some time with him as him being from the conductor standpoint. And then after the session was done, he came out and was, a little more in the personable state, let's say. And we all sat around and drank chai together. And that was really nice. We all just got to ask him questions. And, when you see Dada in the conductor seat, it's very... the word that's coming is professional in my mind, but it's very, he's the guru. He's sitting there. He's giving you knowledge. You don't feel like he's above you in any way, but there's this regality to it, right? But then when he came out and drank chai with us, he felt more like a friend as opposed to teacher. That'd be a good way to put it. Mm-hmm. And so that was really nice. And we got to just sit with him and talk, and you just feel energized in his presence. You don't feel tired. You don't feel sleepy. And then long after he's gone, you're still full of energy hours afterwards. Again, this is a common experience that people report. And so that was my first time meeting him. Second time, this time, we're at the ashram. We have a session with him. And we actually had 2 sessions with him. One on New Year's Eve. We did this impromptu session where Maitreya Bo did a live where we did a meditation and Dada gave a little talk. He blessed everybody. And then he gave everybody a gift, which was on Dada's birthday, which is December 27th. We always do the Global Maitri Festival. And this year there was 10,000 people at the ashram grounds. Wow. And they did this big, huge havan, which is, again, this Vedic fire ritual. But this one was really special, and they took some of the ash from it and they put it in a little packet, and Dada gifted one by one every person who was there. He went up to us and gave it to us. And so, wow, right? Dada doesn't get a lot of face time with people, and they're very protective of Dada's physical form. And so it's not easy to just simply walk up to Dada and start talking. And the fact that Dada was going to be giving something to everybody, so we were all super excited about it. Wow. We get to feel that divine presence because he just oozes love. Mm-hmm. You feel blissful. People just cry in his presence because you feel so loved. Mm-hmm. You just feel so loved, unlike anything you've ever experienced before. Mm-hmm. So everyone's super happy. Oh my gosh, Dada's going to be walking up and down and giving it to us. And so he's walking, he's handing, saying thank you, he's smiling. And I've got so this is a big divine light. I've got my small one in my hand. And
a divine light is a photo, right? Of him.
Yes. That is the photo you see behind. We can have a whole session on divine light because it is incredibly special. I don't want to get sidetracked, so I want to stay on here, but we can talk about this special photo for a long time. Okay. So I have my small divine light in my hand, and I have my hand out, and I'm all smiling. I'm super excited, and I just, I go to meet his hand as he's coming down, and his fingers brush up against my palm. Mm-hmm. And my first thing I'm thinking is, oh my gosh, Dadashreeji has just touched me. Mm-hmm. Because that is not something that they particularly like people to, rather, let me rephrase. This will take a little bit more of an explanation, but because Dada is completely merged with divine consciousness, he is so connected that any physical pain, anybody that he touches, because of his level of connection, he immediately lives those persons' karmas, their trauma, everything. And because he's so connected to divine consciousness, because he is the incarnation of divine consciousness on planet Earth right now, anything that happens to him is felt throughout the entire cosmos. So it is very rare to have physical contact with Dada. Very rare. This was a complete accident. Mm-hmm. I just reached reached my hand up and just this brush of fingers, and then he was gone. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like shaking. I feel like I've just touched a wire. I'm shaking. I feel it. I'm just like, whoa, my guys, Dada touched my finger. I'm looking to the people beside me. I'm like, Dada just touched my hand accidentally, and now I'm shaking with energy. And then this continues on for about 5 minutes, and then finally it just kind of slowly fades away. It slowly fades away. And then we just go through the rest of the, because we were having a celebration. It was the end of the retreat that I went for. It was called the Nourish the Soul, mm-hmm. the Soul Nourishing Retreat. Mm-hmm. And this was kind of the last get together. Like, every time you complete a session, you have like a small little party. Everybody dances and smiles and hugs and cries. And again, you're just overwhelmed at times by this feeling of love and compassion and family. Everyone there feels like your brother and sister. Everybody there is a part of the Maitri family, this family of friends. And so you just feel so good. So everyone's dancing. We're having a good time. We're singing. And yeah, so, I had just this swipe of 2 or 3 of his fingertips on my palm, and I felt like I was injected with a huge amount of energy.
So, from my understanding, these gurus and spiritual masters, they spend so many years in their practice in yoga and meditation to allow their bodies to hold way more energy, and they're at such a high frequency that their system is just holding so much more than your average human, right? So it makes sense to me that if he were to touch you, it'd feel like sticking your finger or a fork into a electrical outlet, right? Like because they do so much to amplify their energy and their bodies to be this vessel to hold such a high energy, where wherever they go, they emit this love and this frequency.
Yeah, that's how I understand it. I know that Dada is a little special in that regard, is that because it was his purpose to be in the role he is, his merging with divine consciousness happened quite fast. Okay. He didn't spend years and years in a cave, abstaining from anything in this huge practice. It was, hey, this soul came down for this purpose. Mm-hmm. Babaji initiates him because he's a part of the plan. He knows what's going on. Mm-hmm. They go through, they do the process that they need to do to help, the processes and the learnings and the teachings to have Dadashreeji's human mind dissolve and merge into the divine mind. He actually explains this as, or rather he gives the analogy of, it was like a river merging into the ocean. Mm-hmm. That's what he said the experience was like when his human mind merged with divine consciousness. Mm-hmm. And so, because this was all part of divine plan, and of course, hey, divine plan, isn't everything a part of divine plan? Yes, but I'm talking about this thing specifically, this special time that we're in, mm-hmm. of this, we're leaving the dark age. We're in a transition period before the divine age starts, and Dadashreeji was always supposed to be here.
Mm-hmm.
to help this transition, to help humanity. And so he was a little special in that regard, that it wasn't quite as much time as, say, these typical masters. Because, again, while he is called a master, I would say that he is not. And the fact that masters, again, they come down and they're there to teach the knowledge that is there already. Where Dada came down as an incarnation, and he is here to teach something new.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a little bit of a difference there, although he's called master, right? Mm-hmm. He is a little more than that.
And so you had mentioned to me in a previous conversation before this podcast that he has explained that enlightenment, there's stages above enlightenment, right?
Yes.
And that's called transformation. Is that how he refers to it?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. So any of the great teachers who you've heard about, Lord Jesus was a transformed being. Mm-hmm. Buddha, transformed being. And so it was described that enlightenment is like opening the door. Mm-hmm. Transformation is opening the door, taking everything with you and stepping through it. Mm-hmm. And so that was one way that it was described. And so transformation can also be described as flying higher with a wider view. Mm-hmm. Right? And so if you can think about, imagine you're walking on a path and you can only see what's in front of you. Your vision is limited to what you can see in front, side, and even behind you. Mm-hmm. But as transformation happens, now imagine that you are an eagle flying. And as you keep growing, you fly higher and higher with a wider view. Right. And that is the transformation process that we discuss. It is this transformation of the human mind.
Mm-hmm. And so it's transforming to dissolve into the divine consciousness.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So Dadashreeji refers to him as to himself as a transformed being, right?
Yeah, Dada really doesn't refer to himself as anything, right? Because that indicates that there's still ego attached. Okay. Somebody once asked him if he was an enlightened being. Actually, I'll reference once again this interview that he did in Rome, which you can watch online. It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. And he had a really wonderful answer. And he said something along the lines of, if I say I am enlightened, then if I use the word I, essentially, that, anyone who's still using the word I means that they haven't gone above the ego. Now, I butchered his response a little bit, mm-hmm. right? But he just thinks of himself as your friend, your higher sacred self. Mm-hmm. And
so he never says I when he talks.
I don't know if I've ever heard him say I, but even if he said the word I, we might be getting a little into the weeds with this. And I know that partially that might be my fault for my, my rebuttal to what you said. But he himself does not refer to, he's like, I am not a transformed being. I am a transformed being. I am a master. I am a guru. I. That is not Dada. Mm-hmm. Dada's ego is completely killed. Mm-hmm. There's no ego when you have, the ego is of the human mind. Mm-hmm. And when you are in the divine mind, the ego is gone because there is no I. It's just kind of we. Right. You begin to see, it's like, I'm Dada, but oh, look, you're Dada. Mm-hmm. This water bottle's Dada. This mouse is Dada. Everything, every person, every place, everything you understand is a part of divine. Mm-hmm. And so you no longer see this separation from you and other self, you and other thing.
I guess I just asked that because I'm trying to imagine communicating without saying I. Because it's so deep in societal language.
Hmm.
You know, like,
Society is deeply rooted in human mind.
right, right, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I think I'll be really interested to watch some videos of Dada speaking and some of his teachings. I think that'd be really powerful to hear him speaking.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, so you had this electrical jolt through your body when he
Hmm.
touched you, right? And then did you have any dreams? Um, you had mentioned that you had this sense of excitement flowing through you for the rest of the night, right?
Oh, yes. Yes. And in fact, I don't think I got to bed until about 4 o'clock in the morning that night. And that's because I had to force myself to go to sleep
Mm,
because the next day was my final day.
hmm
And I knew that there was some seva opportunities
hmm
to go do some things around the ashram and some of the ashram grounds. And I wanted to be a part of that.
hmm
We had just done all this wonderful teachings and all these spiritual processes. And so, you're feeling so good and you want to give back.
hmm
And so I forced myself to go to sleep at 4 a.m., but there were still people up dancing and singing and having a good time. Easily could have gone the whole night without sleeping.
hmm
Easily, easily. But it wasn't the experience that I wanted to have the next day because eventually I probably would have crashed.
hmm
And since I was only there for about 5 days, I didn't get a chance to really, truly switch my sleep cycle over.
hmm
And so there were weird times throughout the day where I'd get tired and I need to go take a nap.
hmm
And so, as much as I wanted to stay up and keep doing all this wonderful things, it was like, okay, well, you want to do this tomorrow? Yes. Then you should go to sleep. Okay.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing, amazing. So that experience was really profound for you.
Yeah. A lot of these experiences I'm still absorbing. Out of all the
Integrating.
stuff that we did uh, in this retreat, they said it's still going to be working on you for the next year. And
Mm,
so, you will continue to have realizations. You will continue to experience changes.
hmm
So don't be surprised.
Okay, okay. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, amazing. So this was this last trip that you went on was when you had this physical interaction.
Yes.
So that was
Hmm.
only a few weeks ago, right?
No, that was last week. I came back on the 6th.
Oh, wow. Okay. And today's the 10th. So 4 days ago. Amazing. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, I came back on the 2nd. Please forgive me.
Oh,
I came
okay.
back on the 2nd. I was getting confused on my days.
Oh, okay. No problem. Still just 8 days ago. So
Yeah.
amazing. Amazing. So sounds like you had some really profound experiences. It sounds like we've given the listeners a lot to work with, a lot of beautiful books, a lot of beautiful meditations, a lot of resources. We'll drop some links to different videos of the ashram and things like that if people want to
Hmm.
get more involved. And if people want to work with you, we can drop some links to working with Jacob as well. And so thank you so much for joining us today, brother. It was such an honor to have you and really, really blessed to see you and sending you so much love, brother. Thank you again. Until next time.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. It was an honor to come here and talk. Every time we discuss these things, I feel like we just keep going on and on and on. And from day one when we met, gosh, it's probably been about 6 years ago, 6, 7 years ago now. I can't believe it's been that long.
I know.
And day one, we've just been no 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 all the time, all the time. So when you invited me to come, it was an honor, my friend, and being able to discuss something that's so near and dear to my heart, talk about the ashram, talk about my wonderful friend and guide Dadashreeji, it has been truly a blessing, my friend. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jacob. Big love. Until next time.